Good morning, everybody, and thank you for hanging out with us as we just had a couple minutes to allow people to join the event. Welcome both to today's Anteater welcome reception and also a greater welcome to the overall Anteater family. We're so excited to have so many new members joining us today. You are all beginning your journeys at UCI, new students and new parents. And we want to welcome you with great big Anteater arms because we're all in this together. So we have a lot of great resources for you today, some amazing panelists who are going to be able to share their experiences with you, and some questions and answers that we'll get to later. But first, I want to introduce myself. I'm Jeff Minhas, Executive Director of the UCI Alumni Association, and I've been at UCI since 1999, and very excited. You all will be joining the Anteater family, as I mentioned, in the UCI community. But you're probably wondering, why is someone from the Alumni Association starting out this event? You haven't even taken classes yet. You haven't been to campus, perhaps. Well, our philosophy is that once you become an Anteater, you are an Anteater for life. We're going to be here to support you for life because we have this shared bond amongst Anteater alumni and Anteater parents. And that's a very strong part of our culture. In just a number of years, your students will be joining the alumni family, more than 220,000 alumni around the world. And that's a really powerful network that we've mobilized and will be part of your lifelong relationship with the university. So you probably have seen a parent information form. If you did complete that form, you're part of an opportunity drawing to be one of 100 winners for a great quality UCI backpack cooler, which was a collaborative sponsorship from the Alumni Association and the Parent and Family Engagement Team. So keep an eye out for that. Now, I want to show you some information here on the screen. You might already know some of the key, I guess, accomplishments, you might say, amongst many that UCI thankfully has under our belt. We seem to get new accolades every year because the university has grown and accelerated at such a pace that is really above and beyond what you see elsewhere in higher education. You already know most of this because you applied here, you were accepted, you are attending UCI, but you may not have known that UCI is the #8 public higher ed institution in the country. We were recently ranked #1 best overall college by Money. And even more interestingly, recently, we're also named the #1 university doing the most for the American dream by the New York Times Higher College Access Index ranking. And that had to do with a variety of factors, including socioeconomic mobility, where we graduate our folks, starting salaries, etc. There's also tons of other really interesting things you'll learn along your way. We have 28 national championships amongst our variety of athletics programs. We are one of the top rated hospitals, UCI Health, the UCI Medical Center in the state and in the region. And we are the youngest member of this group of universities you likely have never heard of, called the AAU. It's the top most prestigious public and private universities in the country, 65 of them. And we have grown so fast, we are the youngest member of that group. So lots to be proud of. Just coming to attend UCI, you know, we're 56 years young. So part of that is we have grown quite a bit. We have established traditions, but we're so young, we still have a lot of growing to do. And you're going to be part of that tradition building as you embark on your journey at UCI. So a few resources I wanted to mention that we have in the alumni community for you. You can take advantage of these right now. You don't have to wait until 2, 4, 5 years when you graduate. The alumni community is here to support you as an incoming student and parent, and as students as you go on through your journey. So one great place to go, we have this great website called the Anteaters Go Virtual Hub. It's all virtual content you can enjoy right now. Archives of dozens and dozens of virtual event recordings, career panels, industry experts, interest pieces from alumni in arts and athletics, all kinds of amazing variety of content, all there at your fingertips on our event recording library, calendar of upcoming events, downloadable resources for you and your families to stay busy at home with the Anteater spirit, career preparatory resources as well. You're going to quickly familiarize yourself with the Division of Career Pathways, and we partner with them to ensure that alumni are helping bring career efforts or career resources to you. There are job fairs, there are career speakers, lots of resources at Career Pathways you're going to want to take advantage of. But there's one in particular that you can get through this website, mentorship. It's called the Anteater Network. It focuses on connecting mentees and mentors in the UCI community. So you as incoming students can easily reach out to an alumni mentor or parent mentor. Parents, you're also welcome and encouraged to join the platform so you can pass on your professional experience and life advice to the next generation of Anteaters. Really easy to use. So check out that link. Now, we're going to have links to resources like that posted in the chat box, but we'll move on with the program. The house is full today. This is a terrific attendance. We have some amazing UCI leaders who have joined us today to share their perspectives with you, to give you a glimpse into life as an Anteater. So to start us off, I'd like to welcome my colleague, the Assistant Director of Parent and Family Engagement, Lauren Walker, to speak a bit about the program and get today's event started. Lauren.
Thank you, Jeff, and welcome everyone. We're so excited to have you join us. I know many of you were so excited about this event, and I understand that you do have a lot of questions. We know this has been a challenging time for everyone, so we truly appreciate your patience with us while we navigate this time as well, and we are just really excited to be able to offer our students with a more unique UCI experience. So we really want to get them back to campus, get them making memories, and really experience life as they had thought it would be before the pandemic. And so we do have a really exciting program for you today. And also, I just wanted to mention, I'm sure you've seen my name on emails quite frequently, so please feel free to reach out to me if you ever have any questions, or if you'd like to get involved. We will be emailing you more frequently throughout the academic year, and you should be expecting the August or the July-August combination newsletter next week. So we're excited to have that drop, and we'll include important dates, deadlines, events, different things like that to really get you oriented with the campus, and you'll be on our news cycle. So these are great throughout the year, and they'll make sure you don't miss anything. And as Jeff mentioned, we have a wonderful group of panelists today. We'll be joined by Brian Ju. He's a 2001 alum, and he's the Senior Director of Marketing and Outreach for the Office of Undergraduate Admissions. We also have Connie Malone, who received her PhD in 1988 at UCI, and she's a Senior Director of Housing Admin Services. Dr. Ashish Mahera will be joining us. He's the co-chair of our wonderful Parent Executive Board, as well as a two-time Anteater parent. So we'll get into his life as a parent and how he's been involved with the university. His son just graduated, so that's exciting. And then his daughter is actually a second-year student. So he's been around for a while now, and we're just so excited to see a second cycle for him. And then last but not least, Michelle Malari. She's a recent 2021 graduate, and she is the former ASUCI president. So Michelle will really be able to speak to her experience as a UCI student, as well as talking about being involved and what UCI brought to her in her new alumni life. I know everyone is sort of antsy about upcoming dates and deadlines. Kevin Crabb, my colleague, will speak next, and he'll really explain how important it is for students to check their UCI email to stay up to date and share those dates with you. But here is a slide of a lot of upcoming dates for the fall quarter. And we'll discuss this further, and I will actually be sharing this PowerPoint slide deck in the thank you email. So you can take a picture of this, or you can wait until you receive the email next week, and it will have all these dates. And we also will be sharing a link to the academic calendar, which is where I pulled all of these from, except for Anteater Family Weekend, and I'll get into that in a second, but Anteater Family Weekend will be December 10th and 11th this fall, and we're so excited. More details in a minute. But yeah, please note, so waivers are due. These are really important. This is the student health insurance, and we'll get into that, and then registration fees, move-in weekend. I know this is a hot topic, and Connie Malone will speak to this in more depth, but this is the weekend. Quarter begins on the 20th, but classes actually do begin on the Thursday, the 23rd. And then some holidays are mixed in, and then finals, which sounds crazy to talk about, but finals will be in just a few months, really. And then, of course, winter recess. And I mentioned that Ashish Mahera is on our parent executive board, and we are so grateful for all of his efforts, his and his wife's efforts. They are the co-chairs. So 4 ways you can get involved with the university include joining the board, becoming a volunteer, attending an event, or supporting our parent campaign for student success. So first off, our parent executive board is incredible. It's a group of about 30 families, and their membership dues directly support student initiatives. So this could be wellness, professional development, different school supplies. During COVID, they actually funded a COVID research fund, which was crucial to get us, to where we are today. So thank you to them. In the last year alone, they donated $57,000 towards bettering the UCI community. So we are forever grateful, and Ashish Mahera will speak to this a bit and explain what being involved has been like to him, but we're just so grateful for these parents. And then attending an event. We have many events throughout the year, and we're excited to be getting back to sort of a normal event cycle. And so we have coffee socials, and our first one will be taking place in the fall. And so these, prior to the pandemic, would take place regionally throughout the world, and they were hosted by parent volunteers at either a coffee shop or their homes. And parents in the area would get together, swap stories, share advice, different things like that. And it's just a really great way for parents to build community in their area. We have a large population of parents in Northern California, Mahera family, thank you. But they're a huge group of parents. And so we have different pockets of families who would meet there because the Northern California is huge. So we definitely wanted to specify different regions where parents could meet and get together. And, sometimes it ends up with their students carpooling over breaks and things like that. So it really can flourish into great friendships and relationships too. Also, I briefly mentioned Anteater Family Weekend earlier, but this is our largest event. It takes place over 2 days, and it used to take place during homecoming in February or March, but this year we're trying something new, and we are having it in the fall. So it will be taking place December 10th and 11th, and it's really just a great way for you to come to campus. We say live like an anteater, so you get to see, take classes with your student, see what it's like to go to UCI, and we do have some fun things sprinkled in too, so it's not just classes. And then volunteering, we have a wonderful group of Anteater parent volunteers, and we are continuously trying to expand our volunteer opportunities, especially since we've been virtual. So now we're able to really work with parents who might live across the globe, and we can connect and really create relationships and help people build out their own UCI journey. And so we do have parents who contribute they'll either attend events and help us check people in. There'll be speakers at different career panels. We also have people who want to be more behind the scenes. So we do have parents who work to get documents translated for us, for our international families. We have people who want to do design or marketing. And so we really just want you to be involved in whatever way feels right to you. So if you want to be very involved, that's wonderful. If you want to just, attend one event a year, great. We'd love to have you. So we can post the Anteater Parent Ambassador link in the chat later, and it will be in our follow-up email too. But really definitely consider it. And we are doing actually a revamp. So it should launch in September. So that will be exciting for people who have already registered. You'll receive emails about what this looks like. And if you haven't, there is still time. And then lastly, supporting the parent campaign for student success, which puts us closer to reaching our Brilliant Future goals. This fund directly supports students. So it's either wellness, different career resources, whatever the need is, this money goes directly towards that. So it's definitely worth a read on what it supports, and it really helps many students. And then we would love for you to get and stay connected with us. Take a picture of this slide if you want. I'm sure you already have our email address and our website, but definitely follow us on social media. We post a lot and we share different campus events, opportunities, things like that. So please get connected to us in all the ways possible. We definitely want to share information with you, and we do share sometimes differing information on Facebook than Instagram just because of how the platform works. And so follow us on both if you can, and if you have social media accounts. And yeah, we're so excited to have you guys, and I wish this was in person. These actually used to take place in person throughout California. So hopefully we go back to that next year, but I'm just excited to have this opportunity to introduce myself to you and have you be able to put some faces to names with our panelists as well. So with that, I would like to hand it over to my colleague, Kevin Crabb. So take it away, Kevin.
Thank you so much, Lauren, for that wonderful overview of our parents program. I know our parents are so excited to hear all that information. And good morning to all of our parents and families who are joining us today. As Lauren mentioned, my name is Kevin Crabb, and in my role at UCI, I support the engagement of parents and alumni, helping them become more involved with annual programs and campus initiatives, whether that be through mentorship opportunities, volunteerism, as Lauren also briefly touched on, and then supporting philanthropic priorities as well, whether that be through our parents program or across campus in your students' school or somewhere that you may have a passion or interest in as well. And so I would just like to thank all of you for attending our Anteater welcome reception. We have over 600 of you joining us today, which is such an awesome turnout. And the turnout for these Anteater welcome receptions has just been absolutely incredible. And we're excited to be able to share a ton of wonderful information with you as you all begin this new journey with UCI. And we welcome you to our Anteater family. So again, welcome. We're excited to have you here. We want to be able to share with you as much information as we can. And over these past couple of months, we have received just a ton of questions from our incoming parents. I know this is a new journey for many of you coming into a big university such as UCI. And so we will try to acknowledge everyone's questions as best as we can, but we also did compile a list of topics based on the questions that we have received. And so you will be getting an email here shortly from our parent and family engagement team. And in this email, it includes a list of topics based on the questions that have been submitted. And so in this email, the list includes some web links that you can visit to help answer questions and receive the appropriate information directly from the resources around campus. If you have registered for this event in the last 48 hours or so, you may not receive the resource email I am describing right away, but don't worry, we'll be sure to share this important email with you and everyone who has recently registered in these upcoming days. And so we will do our best to get that out to you as quickly as possible, so you have all that information in order to, help provide you with the answers to the questions that you may have. And so look for this in your inbox by midweek. If you haven't received it here, coming up soon. And then also please be sure to check your spam and junk folders just in case you don't see it come directly to your inbox. It's also really, really important, and I know Lauren touched on this very briefly as well, for parents to continue to have communication with their students in regards to their ZOP portal. This is because students will receive updates as well as important dates to know through this platform, such as financial updates and dates that things need to be submitted. So please be in communication with your students, ask questions. I know when I was a student, I was always not the most forthcoming with all the information. And so please be sure to stay on top of that as best as you can with your students. Our parent team primarily focuses on engagement, volunteerism, and philanthropy. And so while we love to provide assistance to our parents and help answer any questions that you may have, we are only able to share the general information we receive from the contacts at the same campus resources we will provide you with. So in that email, with those lists of resources, there will be contacts that you can find in those links within those web pages as well. And so in order to help speed things along, you can receive the information that you are looking for sooner, and we recommend reaching out with your questions directly to these contacts that are provided in the links in the email that will be sent out. So they will be able to share that same information with you that they would share with us, except this will cut out the possible delay of us reaching out and then following back up with you again in order to pass this information along to you. So we want to make sure that this is a speedy process for you and you are getting that information directly. And so we highly recommend seeing who those contacts are within those campus resources and reaching out to them directly. If you do have any trouble, we will help you out as best as possible, but this is just our recommendation for you to receive that information as soon as possible. We truly, truly appreciate you and your understanding with that. And so with that being said, I would now like to introduce you to the panelist portion of our event. Each of our three panelists will speak about their area of expertise and their own unique experience with the university. And so now I am proud to introduce our first panelist, Brian Jew. Brian is the Senior Director of Marketing and Outreach for our undergraduate admissions at the University of California, Irvine. Brian is also a proud Anteater alum and has been at the university since 1997. He began his professional career at UCI serving as campus representative coordinator and overseeing the tour program and its students. He currently oversees the outreach and recruitment efforts of the office while trying to keep everyone sane during the craziness leading up to the school year as well. Thank you for all your help in that, Brian. Brian holds a BA in Criminology, Law, and Society from UCI and also an MA in Theology from Biola University. Brian enjoys wandering around Disneyland and also going to Dodgers games with his family. So with that being said, I would like to hand it over to Brian and take it away.
Well, thank you so much, Kevin, for the wonderful introduction. And hello, everyone. Happy Saturday. And thank you so much for joining us today. Like Kevin was saying, I am a proud Anteater alum. You can say that I loved my experience at UCI 20 plus years ago that I decided to stay and has never left. And it's just been a wonderful institution. And I look forward to officially welcoming you to the campus. Kind of one of the funny roles that I have is that I spend a lot of time actually doing all of the recruitment and marketing and outreach as you've actually applied to us and been admitted and accepted our offer. We do all of that up to this point, essentially on when you're on the cusp of actually registering and enrolling to class and starting your UCI career. So in a lot of ways, this is kind of a handoff moment for me and our office in terms of we've worked with you being the outreach and marketing person. I actually oversee all of the communications and information regarding your admissions and processing like that. Right now, today, I'd like to just spend a few moments just talking about what a great and incredible class you are coming in. This is the most competitive, most selective admissions class ever in the history of UCI. You can see we actually got nearly 134,000 applications. And yes, our admissions office read every single file for that. The class that we admitted, we saw, and we admitted about over 32,000 students. We're also number 2 in state for the most number of freshman applications, number 2 for transfers, and for underrepresented. So, and number 1 for the most for first generation students among all UC campuses. So this is an incredible class, not to mention that for all of you who are applying as a first year student, we didn't have SAT scores. You're the first class to come in without having to worry about SAT or ACT. So on top of that, we know it's been a challenging time the last 2 years with high school, not quite what all of us have expected or wanted to be ending your high school careers, but we're looking forward and we're looking excited about what your future in college is going to be. And so I just wanted to say congratulations. This is a class that you're deserving to be here. We've looked at every single student and we would not have admitted you if you weren't deserving to be an Anteater. And we think that you will fulfill what it means to be a lifelong Anteater in that way. The last thing I would want to end with is that this is our handoff moment. So the last things that we are officially doing to you are asking that if you have any outstanding transcripts or any outstanding documents that you haven't sent to us, test scores, summer class schedules, any of your documents that you need, please get that into us as soon as you can. We're accepting all forms of receiving. And that's basically it. From here on out, we're going to hand you off to these wonderful folks who are here on this panel and the rest of the campus. I want to say, being here 20 years, that our campus is very, very student focused, and that even though it's a big enterprise and there's a lot of questions, it seems a lot of information out there, it could be at times a little confusing. We're definitely all here to help you. So if you do have the question, don't be afraid to just email any of our offices or reach out, and we're at least going to be sure to direct you to the appropriate places. But thank you so much for attending, and I will pass it back over to Lauren. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. And 20 years, I can't believe it. That's incredible. Thank you so much. And I'm excited to pass it off to our next panelist, Connie Malone. Connie has been with Student Housing since 2001. She's responsible for housing outreach and marketing, applications and contracts, the housing website, among many other responsibilities. She's originally from the Boston area, and her first stint at UCI was as a PhD student in the School of Social Ecology. She loves UCI for its commitment to student success and spirit of innovation. Connie has found it very rewarding to see UCI develop into a top-tier public university. So please welcome Connie Malone.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome. So student housing is extremely busy right now preparing for the arrival of our students back to campus. We're very excited to be looking forward to bringing back students and filling up our communities for 21-22 school year. Move-in starts in the residence halls on September 16th and goes through the 19th. And for transfer students and continuing students moving to Arroyo Vista, move-in will be September 18th, 17th, and 18th. Students living in those communities will receive their housing assignments and move-in instructions in early September. And if you or your students have questions after receiving that email, you would contact their housing community for assistance. I've seen a few questions in the Q&A on planning travel for move-in. I think if you plan your arrival anytime for the residence halls between the 16th and 19th of September, you'll be fine. If you get assigned a different day than the travel day that you scheduled, just contact your community and request a change in your move-in day. We will be operating at full capacity this year, and we've even added some beds to the residence hall towers in order to accommodate more of the overwhelming demand we've had for housing this year. The campus is also setting aside spaces for quarantine and isolation, but not in our undergraduate housing communities. So the residence halls are going to be housing roughly 5,400 first and second year students in singles, doubles, triples, and quads. And the AV theme houses, which are mainly continuing students and transfers, will house roughly 1,000 students in double rooms. A lot of our transfer students live in the American campus apartment communities located on the East Campus. And those communities will house roughly 6,500 continuing students and transfers. They operate their communities independently from student housing. So any questions about your student's lease or move-in in those communities should be directed to them. Students who are still looking for off-campus housing options can go to the Anteater Housing Network, which is listed under the services tab of our website. Facebook also has a number of housing focused groups where students post messages when they're looking for roommates or housing. And the Irvine Apartment Communities websites offers you, if you Google Irvine Apartment Communities, offers many options in the areas surrounding the campus. Information on renters' rights and landlord-tenant laws can be found on the housing website if you want to look at that as you're looking for off-campus housing. We are still continuing to make housing offers throughout the summer as we get cancellations. And we'll do that all the way up until move-in. But at this point, if your student does not have an on-campus housing offer, they may want to start looking for backup plans off campus. As we did last year, housing will be sharing procedures, protocols, and behavioral guidelines surrounding COVID response on our website. And those are provided by the campus and local public health. So we conform to all those recommendations. And the most important step your students can take right now is to be sure they get their vaccination. Vaccinations will be required for students coming to campus this fall. In terms of keeping up to date with COVID response information, the UCI Forward website, which is linked from the UCI homepage, is the best source of information for all things COVID related on the campus. And given that we house students in group environments, it's going to be very important for people to pay attention to those rules and guidelines, since we are going to have people living in close quarters. We know that students are anxious to get back to campus and enjoy all that it has to offer after a difficult year this past year of remote learning. And we really look forward to welcoming them back with plenty of opportunities for building community and for supporting them in their academic endeavors. I did see one question in the Q&A asking about activities between arrival and start of classes. There's lots of fun stuff to do during Welcome Week, lots of activities put on by different campus organizations and by Student Life and Leadership, as well as activities offered in your students' housing community. So there'll be a lot of information coming out about the welcome back, and we look forward to seeing you at move-in.
Thank you, Connie. That was very helpful. I know that addressed a lot of the questions that were submitted prior to this event, as well as a lot of the new incoming questions. So really, thank you so much. And thanks for all you do. I know housing is a hot topic and quite busy, so thank you. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Ashish Mahera. I'm so sorry. I need more coffee today. Ashish is incredible. I've known him for a few years now, and he's been on many events like this with us, and he's just an incredible parent. So I'm excited to introduce him. So Ashish Mahera is a product leader and entrepreneur with 25 plus years of leadership experience in business, product management and innovation, software engineering, and customer success. Most recently, he served as the head of products at Drishti Technologies, an AI-powered computer vision startup that enhances human performance in the manufacturing industry. Ashish has previously held senior leadership positions at venture-funded startups and public companies as well. At NetApp, he played key leadership roles in product management and engineering to deliver many innovations that help Fortune 500 enterprise customers succeed. Prior to NetApp, Ashish was head of product and engineering at Velocity Building Application integrated data management products. And before that, as co-founder and CEO of iScale, He created intelligent core-to-edge data distribution products. He has also served as program CEO of Startup Leadership Program. This is a global volunteer-run nonprofit training entrepreneurs from ideation to investor readiness. And he's a hands-on advisor to several startups and currently serves as co-chair of the UCI Parent Executive Board, as I had mentioned. Ashish holds a master's and PhD in computer science and engineering from the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor, and a Bachelor of Technology in Electrical Engineering from Indian Institute of Technology in Kanpur, India. And as you can tell, I'm not techie like Ashish, but we need techie people. So thank you so much, and take it away, Ashish.
Awesome. Thank you, Lauren, and welcome everybody. Really excited to have so many parents with us today. First of all, a warm welcome and congrats. And both to you and to your students who are joining UCI. If it's your first time, I can sympathize with you with all the nerves, with all the changes, all the transitions, all the open questions. But I want to give you a kind of a glimpse of our role. And again, my wife, Nilu, could not join today. She's a physician at Kaiser, very involved. But today, I mean, again, these days, doctors are really under heavy stress and a lot of demand. So please apologize. Excuse her absence today. But we are both very this was our first journey. Our first child, our son, joined UCI, and we went through that transition that you're going through now. And then, of course, our daughter Inika, she started 1 year ago. So for us, UCI really has become like a home away from home, like an extended family. As we live in the Bay Area, UCI is far enough, but near enough, if you know what I mean. We want to give room to our children to go away and find themselves and start their journeys in their careers and so on, and yet close enough that we can reach them and we can sort of stay connected as we make this transition. So I wanted to emphasize how much we have really appreciated UCI as an institution. As parents, as I mentioned, we started out feeling very nervous about the whole thing, but as we have grown and seen UCI in action with my son and then with my daughter now, we're very comfortable with everybody that we've interacted with there, from housing, from experience in classes, just connecting with people and staff at UCI. It's been wonderful. So I would strongly recommend and emphasize that the more you reach out, the more you connect with the staff, the more your questions get answered, you will draw the same level of comfort that we have. The second thing I want to mention is, of course, it was much easier with our daughter because, this is, again, we were very familiar with UCI by then. And I think 1 year into our stint as parents, we really wanted to get more involved. We love giving back. We love education, as you can tell from my own career and my wife, she's, of course, serving people. We love giving back. And that's the essence. For me, there are two things that matter: creation and human potential. And all my life, I've really served and strived to advance those two. So this was another opportunity to be able to give back and connect as parents. And so we joined the PEB, which is the Parent Executive Board. And within a year or I think soon after that, we became the co-chairs of that. And it's really been quite an eye-opener, because as parents, it's one thing to have your child attend and be involved from a distance. It's quite a different experience to really get involved and reconnect with UCI staff at a much deeper level. And PEB really gave us that opportunity. Not only that, it was quite an eye-opener interacting with other parents and getting to know them and see and hear and learn from different perspectives. And with the PEB and with our contributions, we have been able to directly interact with and influence and impact students. Different aspects that Lauren alluded to, but there is this program called the Anteater Grant Initiatives. And every year, that gives funds to different initiatives, different causes on campus. And that's been really gratifying because you can directly see firsthand what the issues are. You can discuss with other parents, and then you can contribute to make an impact. And then the entire parent engagement team, I just want to give a huge kudos to Lauren, Kevin, Christina, Mel, and others. It's been wonderful. And through those, the other thing I want to highlight for you is the interactions we have had with the UCI leadership, whether it's the Vice Chancellor Brian, whether it's Chancellor himself, whether it's other leaders of various schools. It's been wonderful to have them come to the PEB meetings or even outside of that to give updates, to provide access and answer questions. In general, what I would say, I found UCI leadership to be very humble, very approachable, very inclusive. They want to learn. It's very clear UCI wants to grow and excel. And it's very clear that they consider parent feedback and parent involvement as a very crucial piece of the puzzle to be able to hear directly from parents, listen to the feedback, and then do better. So that's really what I would say in a nutshell, our experience has been. And I, again, warmly welcome you. And I'll be here on the panel answering any questions you might have. Once again, welcome.
Thank you so much, Ashish. It means a lot to have your praise, but I just want everyone to know we truly work really hard, and we value parent and family feedback incredibly. And so this event, for example, it definitely has transformed over the years. It used to be, just a celebratory welcome, but we have realized that you guys have a lot of questions, and there is a definite need for something a little bit deeper. So thank you so much, Ashish. Truly appreciate your time. And now, last but not least, we have Michelle Malari. And so Michelle is our recent UCI grad and former ASUCI president. We're so excited to have her join us today. She's joined this event in the past as a student, so it will be wonderful to hear her new perspective as a recent alum. And so Michelle, as I mentioned, is a new UCI alumni, having just graduated with the class of 2021 this past June. Michelle graduated magna cum laude in business administration, summa cum laude in political science, and as a member of the Phi Beta Kappa and Beta Gamma Sigma honor societies. At UCI, Michelle interned in student life and leadership, coordinated the administrative intern program, volunteered as a SPOP summer orientation staffer, and served as the business senator and president in ASUCI student government. This summer, Michelle has been exploring new trails and coffee shops in her hometown of Santa Clara with friends and family. And this September, Michelle will be starting as a full-time audit associate at Grant Thornton. And so we're so excited to have Michelle join us. And I spoke with her last week, and she said she was so relaxed. It felt weird that she was so relaxed, after being so busy as a student, and now she'll be starting her new job. So it's just so exciting to see it full cycle. So thank you, Michelle. Take it away.
Thank you for the introduction, Lauren. It's good to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm excited for you all for coming to UCI and being here. I'm just here to share my experience as a student at UCI, and I can talk more about what it was like being a student. Then I'd be happy to answer questions in the Q&A about what the experience was like. So I'm very grateful that I was able to come to UCI. I graduated from Archbishop Moody High School in San Jose in 2017, if you know where that is. When I was coming into UCI, I think I was most nervous for the social aspects, actually. But being in the dorms during my first year and getting more involved was definitely my favorite part, and made the experience at UCI very memorable and worthwhile. I think in high school, it's easy to struggle being yourself. There's a lot of pressure, but I think the people I surrounded myself with during my first year made me feel comfortable with who I was and helped me recognize what my strengths were in school and where I could continue to grow. And knowing those things helped me to figure out what exactly I wanted to get involved in at UCI. and how I would also continue to grow in the long run. So as I continued to meet new people, I knew I wanted to be a part of building the community within UCI, and help other people also feel comfortable being themselves. So during my second year, that was my first major involvement. I interned in student life and leadership, and that got me more familiar with student affairs. And then during my third year, as Lauren mentioned, I was a SPOC orientation staffer to welcome incoming students during the summer. I helped coordinate a mentorship program for student interns, and then I also ran for student government. And by the end of my third year, that was when all those involvements wrapped up. And I felt that I was connected to a lot of different communities within UCI and realized that there are still so many ways that we can support each other. And I thought that my growing experience and my knowledge at UCI would best be applied if I ran for president for student government. So this past year was not easy by any means, in terms of being president and also just being a student. But I think there were so many students across both UCI and actually the entire UC system that were always supporting each other and advocating for each other. Anything from when it came to safe distancing, to access to COVID testing, how to make learning and teaching more accessible online, how to prioritize our mental health. So all those things, even in a remote environment, showed me that we will always be supporting one another. And finally getting back to UCI this past June to graduate and walk the stage with some of my closest friends really reminded me that my experience at UCI was always shaped by the students around me. So I'm sure there will be some unique experiences and challenges this year, but I'm confident that there's a community for you or your student at UCI where they will be supported and will be able to figure it out together, so that you can live authentically and discover your potential. And I will turn it back to Lauren.
Thank you, Michelle. That was great insight, and I really appreciate it. Okay, now we'll be moving on to the Q&A portion of the event. So as we had mentioned earlier, please type your questions in the Q&A section. It gets a little overwhelming with questions, so please, if you see that someone has already asked the question that you were interested in hearing the answer to, please just upvote it, and that takes it to the top, and it makes it so we can see it easier and hopefully get to answering that. And so I know we don't have too much time for questions, but we're definitely going to jump in. So panelists, please join me and check out the Q&A and see if there's anything you feel strongly about answering. So, and I'll check it out right now too.
So I think we should, Lauren, there was one, can you hear me? There was one question I think several people are asking, if the Delta variant happens, COVID happens, and things go south, then what's the plan? If you can address that.
That's a great question. Panelists, does anyone have any better insight into that? Take it away.
I can speak to that in terms of what happened the last time. So in winter 2020, when things were starting to get really bad and the campus decided to go remote, and students were urged, but not forced, to go home, then I'd say probably about 2/3 of the students decided to leave, and their housing contracts were canceled as of the date they left. The students that remained were moved into all single rooms, and about 1/3 of the students did remain for the rest of the year. So our hope this time is that we're working in a different context, because hopefully almost all students will be vaccinated. So we're kind of operating in a different context, but housing will follow all the guidelines that the campus puts out. So there are a lot of unknowns in terms of how this fall is going to go with relation to the Delta variant. As I mentioned earlier, the campus is setting aside hundreds of quarantine and isolation spaces so that any student that is test positive for the coronavirus will be moved to an isolation space in order to reduce the chances of transmission in their group housing setting. There's a lot of activity right now in developing all of the details of our plans for fall. We're working with student health and contact tracing and public health to get all those plans in place. And again, I think the best source of information to stay up to date on all this is the UCI Forward website, which is linked from the UCI homepage. And there's lots of great information, pretty easily accessible there for students and families.
Great, thank you. And then Connie, we do have one of the top questions is asking if parents will be able to actually move their students in, or if they're just dropping them off. And are there any limitations? Like, do they need to be vaccinated people, or just any information surrounding that would be great.
Okay, yeah, I think better if you're vaccinated. I haven't heard about any prohibition on moving your students in, but everybody will be required to wear masks at move-in. Everyone, students, staff, families, everyone at move-in will be masked. I believe that, I think all students are going to be tested at move-in. Those plans are still in development. But yeah, I have not heard about any prohibition. Last year, students were limited to having 2 people, and move-in was spread out over a longer period of time to reduce the number of to increase physical distancing. But as far as I know, you will be able to move your student in. I wouldn't bring a crowd of people, but you know, if two people want to come to help move the student in, that's fine. Just be sure to bring your mask.
So on that note, there are three other related questions, if I can just flag them here. One is, will regular COVID testing be implemented for students and staff? Second is, does the school mandate staff vaccinations? And third is, again, what's the protocol for contact tracing?
I can speak to some of that unless someone else wants to jump in.
You got it, Connie.
Okay. So because I've worked with contact tracing and student health for the past year in managing the pandemic to date, again, things have been changing, but there will be mandatory testing for any students who are not vaccinated. Students can request an exemption from vaccination if they have medical or religious reasons for doing so. Those requests will all have to be approved. They'll be reviewed and approved by campus people who are appointed to review those. UCI staff are also required to be vaccinated. So yeah, the vaccination requirement is kind of across the board for anyone that's going to be on campus, working or attending classes or living here. And then again, the testing protocols are still in development. And as conditions across the country change, things are being looked at very closely. So I don't have the final word on that. But again, once a policy decision has been made, it will be posted on that UCI Forward website, and all enrolled students will receive an email. So I will tell you that it's very important for your students to read their emails from UCI, whether it's from housing or the registrar or student health. They need to read those emails so that they know, or fully informed coming into the campus in the fall.
Thank you. And then Brian, I think you might be able to address this question, but what if students have not been assigned to an academic advisor? Can you speak to what SPOP entails, please?
Yeah, there's kind of 2 different processes. SPOP is typically just the orientation program. And in many years, the orientation and advising portions have been kind of concurrent. So when you came for your orientation, you would actually go through your academic advising. But because all of orientation is virtual, SPOP is basically the general orientation. It's getting acclimated to campus. It's getting familiar with resources. Those are occurring typically every week during the summer. And then your own individual academic unit is supposed to reach out to you regarding academic advising. And that has started around just a few weeks ago, starting mid-July for most of the first year students. Transfers, it could be a little longer. They start throughout most of July and into August. So if your student has not been contacted yet about any scheduling for an advising appointment, I would recommend just reaching out on Monday to the specific academic unit just to double check that. It's possible that they could have already been emailing you already and scheduled it, and then they're just there's no confirmation typically. It's just more of or less an announcement to you to say this is the date of your academic advising. So make sure you have your student check their email, check their spam folders, but if not, just give them a call during the week.
Great, thank you so much.
Also, Lauren, there are several questions on housing, so I just want to flag it because I think that's going to be top of mind for many parents. There's a question about people don't really understand. People are very unclear and confused and concerned about when housing offers will be made, what position they are in. There's no visibility, and so they really want to know what to expect. And I know that Connie said that if you have not received housing offers, to make other arrangements. But if you can give more clarity as to where things stand, what to expect, and also,
Sure.
Yeah. What happens if they don't get the on-campus?
Yeah. I'm sorry, it has been confusing for people this summer. One thing that created some confusion was an email that went out from student affairs that said that housing was full. And it went to everyone, even to people who have housing contracts. So it created some confusion for people who had contracts, but then thought maybe their housing wasn't there. A student can confirm that they have a housing contract by going to the Housing Gateway, which I did post the address for that in the Q&A, but it's basically my.housing.uci.edu/gateway. They go to the Housing Gateway, log in, and then look under housing offers and contracts, and it will tell them that their contract is completed. If it says completed on their Housing Gateway page, they have housing and their assignment is coming. There's also some confusion about the wording. So housing offers versus housing assignments versus housing contracts. Most of our contract offers have been sent and students either completed them or they didn't. The housing assignments will be sent in early September, and that's when students learn what community, what hall, what room, what roommates they're matched with, all the details of their housing assignment. So you could also email housing@uci.edu if you need information, but I will warn you that we have a bit of a backlog of emails. I mean, we get so many of them, it can often take us like a week or so to respond, because literally we have hundreds and hundreds in our mailbox. But the easiest way to confirm their contract, again, is to go to the Housing Gateway and have the student look for that completed notation. If students don't have housing yet, again, I said we will still be making offers, but they might want to start looking into some of those off-campus options. You know, we really offered to just about all of the freshmen who live beyond 30 miles from the campus. We were provided guidance that we needed to prioritize people who lived further away. But if for some reason your student missed their contract deadline and they're still without housing, you can contact us at housing either by emailing that address, or our phone number is 949-824-6811, and we'll help you as best we can. I know it's a high stress issue for people. They need to line up housing for their student. And we're very sympathetic to that, but we can only work with the spaces that we have. And we are doing our best to try to help students secure something, whether it's on campus or guide them towards resources for finding off-campus housing.
Thank you, Connie. And then I believe we have time for one more question. I do see a lot of people asking about parking. Do you know if freshman students living in the dorms will have access to purchasing a parking permit to keep
The
their
general
cars there?
rule
Or-
for parking and freshmen is that freshmen are discouraged from bringing a car. If a freshman needs a car for some purpose of work, or they have to go home on the weekends, I think they can write an appeal to parking. And if all the information for parking, it doesn't really come from housing, it comes from parking. So I think it's parking.uci.edu, and then there's a permits link on that page, and they can get information about residential or for people who live on campus parking permits, who can have them, how much they cost, and how to get them. We send a list to parking of who is living on campus, so they know that this student is a on-campus resident or not. It's not cheap to get parking. It's like, I think it's about $1,000 a year. So if your student can do without a car, that has many benefits, including sustainability, lower cost. There are campus shuttles that run all around the campus from morning until into the evening. So there are ways to get around, and bringing a bike is not a bad idea either.
Great, thank you. And then Ashish, did you want to ask just one more question before we move on?
Yeah, I just want to go back to housing a bit. There's a question around how the housing spaces are being configured. Are the rooms being changed to quads? And then if so, what is being done about air filtration, or, and if somebody doesn't get along with the other roommates, what are the options available? If you can speak to those.
Sure. Yes, we do have a lot of quads. Our most recently built facilities, the towers in Mesa Court and Middle Earth, are all going to be configured as quads. They're large rooms, so it's two sets of bunks in each room with desks and dressers, and then 2 rooms along the hallway share a bathroom. In terms of air filtration, I mean, there is air ventilation. There's also windows that can be opened from the rooms to bring outside air in. And again, we're going to follow all the cleaning standards and the COVID prevention, COVID response standards that are issued by the campus. And if students are having a problem in their dorm, like with a roommate or something, the first step would be to go to your RA to help, and the resident advisors, who's an older student living in their dorm, will try to help them mediate the issue. If it's something that can't be worked out, they can request, a roommate or a room change. Typically, the dorms don't do those changes for the first 3 weeks of the quarter, in the hope that students, are all going through an adjustment, and to encourage them to try to work things out with one another.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much. And just to be cognizant of our panelists' time as well as yours, we'll be moving on to the final portion of our event. And I just wanted to see if anyone has some final words of wisdom to share with our parents and students to wish them off on their new UCI journey. So Ashish, would you like to start us off?
Yeah, so, my words of wisdom would be, so there's a lot of uncertainty right now, open questions for parents. And again, the staff is doing the best they can to get answers over, whether it's housing, parking, vaccinations. We are still coming out of the pandemic. There's a lot of moving parts to this. So we all need to be patient, and the UCI staff is working hard, trying to make things happen in the right way. So they do care about your situation, and information will be provided as best as we can. With some of these questions, I think there would be some follow-ups on providing answers to those questions if they haven't been addressed here. The other thing I would say is that as you go through this transition, and your children, your students settle down, I would strongly encourage you to get involved. you're in good hands. UCI staff is very caring. And as we make this transition, beyond just, as I said, beyond just being a distant parent, I would strongly encourage you to get involved. The more you're involved, the more you are closer to the action on the ground, to the staff, and so on. And if you can, please do give back, whether through the PEB or otherwise. There are many, many opportunities. At the end of the day, this is not just a beginning of your student's journey with UCI as a college, but your relationship with UCI in the long term. So I would say get going with that and become part of the community. That's what I would say as my sort of words of wisdom for you.
Thank you, Ashish. Connie, would you like to go next?
Sure, sorry about that. I was in the Q&A. As I said in the first panel, I would just encourage people, if you need help or need information, just tell your student, don't be afraid to ask. A lot of times students are very hesitant to reach out. They're nervous. They just don't know who to ask. But please encourage them to ask questions and get the help that they need. Because as Ashish said, we're all here, we want to help. We can't always give students the exact answer that they want, but we are definitely committed to helping them work through whatever the issue is as best we can. So ask for help.
Thank you. I think even as adult staff members, we forget to ask for help too. And so I've been learning a lot over the past few months, trying to answer parent and family questions. So I've been asking for help from different departments. And so this has been a learning curve for me. And I agree with that. Thank you. And then Brian, would you like to go?
Sure. Being on the communications and outreach side to things, I know firsthand that all of the data that we're sending to the different departments, it's all tied to the student record. And so my encouragement is to ensure that your student is checking their email right now. There's a lot of information, and sometimes a lot of the departments or offices are only sending emails to the students. For admissions, we try to include the parents if we have the parent contact info, but we don't necessarily have every single parent contact info. It was all given to us at the point of the application or any updates since then with the parent checklist that we put on the student portal. So if there is information that you're just kind of unsure of or not, remind your student to check their email, because it's possible that only they are getting that information in the updates. And there's a lot of emails that go out each week. I see them all going, we're proofreading them. So it's a lot of information that could be a little overwhelming. So just double check that they're having their email. And my only other advice is, it's time to kind of let them really start to take ownership of this. Once they get to campus, a lot of that information is going to be on them. I know for some parents, being a parent myself, it's going to be hard to not be in the know or not having to check in on them with their homework and all that stuff. But this is a little bit of that letting go and trying to get them a little more independent on that end. But we're treating them like adults at this point. So please have them check their email. And don't be afraid to reach out to us to ask questions as well, just like everyone else has said.
Thank you, Brian. Very well said. Michelle, would you like to close us out?
Sure. I guess in hindsight, I definitely agree with asking questions, even when it seems scary, and definitely checking my email, because like they said, there's so much important information that comes through. And there's a lot of responsibility in being a student at UCI or just in college in general, but there's also a lot of fun that comes with it too. And you learn to grow a little more. And so I think in addition to what has already been shared, just from the student perspective, just think about what you really want to accomplish at UCI. And I think success is relative and changing every year for each person. Like, for example, during my first year, I was just trying to make it through the dorm life. And then by the end of my fourth year, it was, are we going to be able to be okay learning remotely? So clearly a lot of things will change in the next 4 years, but we learn to adjust and we learn to keep going, and things get easier over time. So there's no perfect formula for how the next 4 years will go. So it's definitely okay to check in with yourself, see if you're headed towards the direction that you feel comfortable and happy with. keep asking questions to both yourself for self-reflection and also to other people, because it's always the community around you that will help you get through it. So I found my time at UCI very worthwhile, so hopefully you all will too. And I'll be rooting for you.
Thank you, Michelle. All right, well, thank you so much to everyone for joining us today. Thank you for our panelists, all the very helpful information you've shared. I hope all of our attendees at home really found it helpful. I did want to mention that you should have received the resource email by now, probably around 10:30. So check your inbox after this. It includes, I would say, the majority of the helpful links that we discussed today, maybe minus parking. Please use that email to look up any questions that may not have been answered during this session. Those are all the links that I use to answer the questions I received from families. So they are helpful, and they do have very valid and important information in them. And then use that in the meantime. Next week, you'll receive a thank you email from us for attending this session, and it will include a link to this PowerPoint slide deck, which will include the helpful dates. All those dates will be in there, as well as links to a couple other helpful things. So I've created a Google folder for you guys with all of this helpful information. So I really hope you're able to utilize it and feel supported throughout all of this. I just wanted to mention a few things before we leave for the day. I've mentioned a town hall meeting before, so this will take place in the fall, and it will be like this event, except more Q&A focused. And we did this during our Anteater family weekend event earlier this year, and it was a huge hit. So we're excited to bring it back, and we'll have all the folks from the hot topic areas be answering questions, and just check your emails and look forward to that. As I mentioned earlier, please save the date for Anteater Family Weekend. It will be taking place on Friday and Saturday in December, so December 10th and 11th. Currently, we are planning for this to take place in person. If, per county guidelines, if things do change with COVID, unfortunately, we will have to pivot and do a virtual model. But right now, we're given the clear to do, plan in person. So please keep that in mind. And then, as I mentioned earlier as well, we are doing our Anteater Parent Ambassador revamp launch. So members will receive emails in September, letting them know what this looks like. And then there's also still time to sign up. So please check out our website to learn more information and sign up as a parent volunteer. And then I did want to mention, Jeff brought this up in the beginning, but we will be doing our opportunity drawing for our backpack coolers. And so we'll be gave people up until August 9th to submit their information. So all of you will be entered in the drawing automatically, and we'll find out who our winners are on August 10th. And if you're a winner, you'll receive an email with more information on what this means and when you can expect your gift. And yeah, I honestly, yes.
Can I request Connie to post that Housing Gateway link again? There are a few questions around that. I just want to make sure that we give as much information we can in this session. So I think you mentioned my.housing.uci.edu/gateway. I think that was the link.
Sorry, I'm typing it in right now.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you, Connie. And then, one more thing. We will be sharing this recording as well. So you'll be able to look through this, go straight to the Q&A if that's what you're interested in. And you can use this for future reference too. So it was really great that you attended. Thank you, Ashish, for really moderating the Q&A and getting the top questions answered. I really appreciate it. And then we just have one more thing. So Jeff, can you pop on and explain what the ZOT is? I know we sign our emails, ZOT fill yours, and I'm sure you've heard about our Peter the Anteater, our famous mascot, and Jeff is an expert in this area. So
Thank
take
you,
it away,
Lauren.
Jeff.
Yeah. What is the Zot? What is the Zot? So take a look at the slide here. I'm going to give you a very short history lesson. So we love our mascot. Peter the Anteater is one of the most beloved, feared and revered mascots in all of higher education, and we're proud of that. We're the only institution that has an anteater as a mascot. You know, you hear lots of bears and wildcats and this and that. We are unique, and the Anteater, it has won many mascot competitions, online, retailers, all these random competitions. People love the Anteater. More importantly, we love the Anteater. So where did the Anteater come from? You can see from this Anteater behind me, and also from behind Brian in his background, that's called the BC Anteater because it was lifted out of a BC comic strip in 1965, which is when the university was founded and opened. And our students took a vote, declared the Anteater as our mascot. You know, it was a little whimsical, but a little fierce, a little counterculture back in the 60s. And it has been one of the most popular things amongst the student and alumni community. In that comic strip, the Anteater made the sound Zot. It was written out, Zot, because it was just a comic. So that is the battle cry of the Anteater. Now we have fully embraced that over the decades, and we have a sign here that I'm going to teach you how to do. It's pretty simple. What you do is you take your hand and you just take your thumb and put it to your middle and ring finger. You stick up your pointer and your pinky, but then you're going to have to create a snout. So you're gonna have to slide that thumb back down towards your palm. So then you got the ears poking up like you can see on the Anteater right next to me. And you've got the snout. And then we're gonna go 1, 2, 3, then we're gonna do 3 Zots, like Zot, Zot, Zot. Okay, so everybody do it with me. Get those hands up. Yep, 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 get the hands up. Okay, get your fingers together, slide that thumb back. Ready? We're gonna go 1, 2, 3. Do it with me. Zot.
Zot.
Yes. Now you know how to Zot. You're going to be doing that a lot in the next for the rest of your lives, hopefully, as members of the alumni community and parent community. And now you're indoctrinated. Thanks, Lauren.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. Great job, everyone. And that's our event. So please keep in touch with us. Here's all of our contact info. And this will be emailed to you as well next week. But we're truly grateful, and I understand that there were a lot of questions left unanswered. So please use our resource documents to try to answer them, and reach out to the specific departments. And we just really, really want to welcome you to the university and want you to know you're already part of the Anteater family now. So thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful weekend.
Lauren, just one more thing.
Sure.
There's a recommendation. There are many questions unanswered. Can we save a copy of this, all the Q&As, and then be able to look at them and maybe make sure that we can follow up into as many of them as we can?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good weekend.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.